Hi. Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can organize a community meal and have it be low cost and effective and delicious. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to give you, I'm the local activist, and I'm going to give you a quick overview of my dog's here trying to say hello to everybody. Uh, anyway, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the group that I'm involved with and how we structure our community feeds. And then I want to kind of go through the steps of how to get one set up and ready to begin. And then some tips, some what we've learned along the way. Okay, so in my small town, about 2 years ago, a group. I'm not a member of the core group of organizers, but I have been involved with I don't know. I guess it's been like 3 or 4 different groups, so I've been there quite a bit. They were groups that volunteered to come to the center and to bring food. Okay, so we have our community feeds on Saturday afternoon from noon to 3. And for each week, local businesses and nonprofit organizations sign up for a specific Saturday. The groups plan the volunteer groups plan the menu. They purchase and prepare the food, and then they serve the meal on that Saturday afternoon. In addition, meals, we have a lot of people in the neighborhood who are not able to get to the community center where we are hosting the meal. And so we have a delivery option. And actually, about 2/3 of our meals that we serve are delivered. So typically we serve 150 or so, sometimes 160 people on a Saturday afternoon. And like I said, about 2/3 of those meals are delivered. And then the other third, it's walk-in. So again, I'm not a core organizer, but I work with the people who are the core organizers. And I've been, a part of the businesses that have signed up for a specific Saturday. So how do we put this all together? The first thing that you need to do is create a core group of, I would say, 4 to 5 people, and then find a location in the neighborhood that you want to serve. You want to make sure that this location is accessible to people. And then you want to recruit businesses and organizations through either social media or personal contacts. And so there is a contact sheet so that when an organization wants to sign up for a particular Saturday, they indicate which Saturday they want to do it. The organizers tell them whether that's available or not. If it is, then they sign it up. And then the nice thing about it is that as the calendar is filling up, the organizers post what businesses have already signed up on social media, as well as what Saturdays are left unfilled. So it's kind of some good PR for the businesses who are volunteering to do the food. So I'm looking at some notes because I've written notes down and I don't want to miss any of this information. So when a business contacts the group, they get the business's contact, email, phone number, and then we've developed a set of instructions for how to what their responsibilities are for the meal. And we've been quite surprised that businesses and organizations have been really eager to sign up. We have had no problem getting the Saturdays filled. It's been great. And, many groups have done it over the 2 years. They've done it several times. For example, our local Democrat county Democrat organization has done it 3 times already. And we had a meeting last night and made the commitment to do it this spring again. So you want to, as an organizer, you want to develop those instructions for the businesses and organizations that are volunteering. And so you want to tell them the times that they will be responsible for being there. So we usually, it's from noon to 3, it's from 1 to 3 on Saturday afternoon. And so the businesses show up maybe 12:30, at least a half an hour before to get everything set up and ready to go. And then, of course, we stay until 3 serving and then cleaning up and, making sure that everything is taken care of before we leave. So it's really about a 3-hour commitment on the part of the volunteers for that afternoon. Now, that, of course, is not taking into consideration the amount of time of food preparation, right? But it really is just a 3-hour commitment one Saturday. Anyway, we make sure that we give them some suggestions for food. The community where we are serving, a lot of people don't eat pork. So we don't want to have that as the only alternative, because we want the only meat alternative, because we want everybody to be able to take advantage of this free meal. The volunteers are responsible for bringing their own serving utensils. We usually bring the food in those, disposable or recyclable aluminum foil pans, and keeping it covered so that we don't do any of the cooking at the center. So everything needs to be kept either chilled or tried to keep as warm as possible. We go through a lot of food, feeding 150 people. And so make sure that you give the volunteer organizations kind of a guesstimate about how many meals they will be serving, and some suggestions on the quantity of food that needs to be brought. And then make sure they understand that they do have the responsibility for serving the food. And it's really great because you get to meet people in the neighborhood. You start building those connections, not only with the core organizers, but also people from the neighborhood. And so it's a really good opportunity for relationship building, as well as feeding people who need it. So you need to have, moving on from the instruction sheet, and make sure that on that instruction sheet that you have the core groups, an email and a phone number, so that if the business has any questions as they prepare for this, they have an easy way to find the contact. So on the day of the meal, 2 to 3 people from the core organizing group needs to be there to manage the volunteers, and just to show them where, what they need to be doing, how it needs to be set up, where they can find trash bags and that kind of thing. The organizers also need to recruit delivery drivers, and it's helpful if these are people from the neighborhood. We oftentimes have community groups that are responsible for being the delivery drivers. And we try to involve some young people in the delivery system, but people who know the neighborhood, who know at least some of the people in the neighborhood, and that they are, understanding that this is relationship building. And so they can, make sure that they're friendly. They check in on people to make sure they're okay, find out if there's any other needs that they might have, that we can then forward those needs to other people who can help take care of them. So recruit your delivery drivers. And, we pack up the food, and I'll mention this a little bit later, but we pack up the food, and then it takes about, I'm trying to remember exactly, it's probably about an hour's worth of delivering. It kind of depends on the numbers that you're feeding, but we try to do that early on in the feeding time, the 1 to 3 time slot, get those out the door, between 1 and 2, for example, so that the food is warm, if that, or it's chilled properly, if that's an issue. And then after everything is cleaned up, everything's delivered, you want to have your core group kind of reflect on how that meal went, and try to determine what didn't go quite right and what needs to be tweaked for the following Saturday. So in the community feed that I'm involved with, we typically start, it's not year round, though this year it might be because there'll be so many people in need. But we usually start around November, right before Thanksgiving. During Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving, we have kind of a drive-through turkey, rolls, and this isn't cooked. This is for people to just pick up and take home. So it's, some green beans and corn and that kind of thing. We have a lot of people coming through. And so before Thanksgiving, we do a donation drive where we ask people for money so that we can buy the turkeys. We have a deal with the local grocery store where they can give the turkeys sell the turkeys to us at a slightly reduced price. And it's kind of amazing, the community support for this. And it's a fun afternoon too, when we're giving out the food. Sometimes there's a little bit of a traffic jam. Okay. So we typically start meals in November and then go through, the cold months. I'm in Kentucky, so the cold months are usually over, April. But like I said, I think this year they're going to extend it because of some of the struggles that more people are having in the community. Okay, so here's just a few tips before I end this video. Number one, people from the area that you're serving should be a part of the organizing groups, whether it is the core group or the delivery drivers or whatever. Is make sure that you have the people in the neighborhood being a major part in this program. Food choices. I already said that, be mindful of any. We can't make it gluten-free. We can't, but if there are some constraints on food, what, a majority of the people do not eat, then make sure that you honor that and let your volunteer organizations know about that too. So the meals that we serve, they range from home-cooked full meals, which would be like meat, veggies, there's casseroles, potatoes. We try to include a piece of fresh fruit, like a tangelo or an apple. And then we also provide a dessert. So cookies or cakes are usually like a sheet cake is what we usually provide. So that's kind of a whole meal kind of thing. But we've also had people who, groups who have brought pizzas and also the sandwiches, coleslaw, chips, and fruit. So we really try to give them a variety of food. And the extent to the full, whether it's a full meal or sandwiches with some sides, that's left up to the organization who's volunteering the food. It's whatever is fitting into their schedule and their cooking expertise, I guess. So the people get a lot of food. They really do. We fill them up. And I hope that if they can't eat it all at one time, that they then have another meal for the following day. I make sure it's easily transportable. We use clamshells. Depends on the budget as to whether or not they are compostable or if they're the good old styrofoam. But make sure that you also provide napkins and utensils for the people who are walk-ins. We do offer bottled water or canned beverages, but most of the time it's bottled water, and so we go through a lot of that too. So make sure that the volunteer organizations know that they're also responsible for a beverage. Again, something that's easily transportable. And then we also, I guess I already said that, provide, utensils and napkins too. Got ahead of myself on my notes. Anyway, the beauty of this system is that it's replicable, so that once you do it 2-3 times as the core organizers, you have a system, right? And so that makes it so much easier to organize and to pull off. And no one person shoulders the burden. And so that is really important, since we're all extremely busy and have, just going in a lot of different directions. We don't want one person. Obviously, there needs to be some leaders in the core organizing group, but if you have 4 to 5 people, you can alternate Saturdays, right, as to who's going to be there. And so it's a system that works. We've worked it out so that it is, like I said, replicable and gets the job done, and without taxing, just one person, as sometimes group work becomes. But I think most importantly, it builds relationships between people. It is a source of aid to people who need it. And once they know that there's help out there for feeding them, then they might be more open to letting people know what they need, right? Because we're a known person in their lives after a while. So anyway, I hope you give it a try. It's really rewarding to be a part of an organization that's feeding people. It's fun. It also kind of builds some connections within the volunteer organizations, because you're doing something different from what you usually do together. So I would really, I would really encourage you to try this. And I hope you do. And remember, no action is too small. You are needed, and you will never know the impact your actions will have. Take care.